got the Spirit in our hearts, the Spirit in our souls, and now the Holy Spirit is in control. We've got the Spirit in our hearts, the Spirit in our souls, and now the Holy Spirit is in control. We've got the Spirit in our hearts, the Spirit in our souls, and now the Holy Spirit is in control. And God is gonna bless like never before when we live in the Spirit of the Holy Lord.
We hear the gospel and we believe,
and God will bless all who receive.
With the Spirit of hope and the Spirit of love,
and it comes from the kingdom that is high above. Now what God's children got the Spirit in our hearts, the Spirit in our souls, and now the Holy Spirit is in control. And God is gonna bless like never before when we live in the Spirit of the Holy Lord.
Now when we're filled with the Spirit, we cannot hide
all the power and love we hold inside.
God is calling us now, and there's no doubt.
When the Spirit comes in, He will send us out. He will send us out with the Spirit in our hearts, the Spirit in our souls, and now the Holy Spirit is in control. And God is gonna bless like never before when we live in the Spirit of the Holy Lord. We've got to pray in the Spirit, wait on the Spirit, sing and shout and praise in the Spirit. Go with the Spirit when the Spirit says go, and all the world will go.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the virtual baccalaureate ceremony for the class of 2020. My name is Logan Eggleston, and I'm the Student Council President. And I would like to share a few words before we begin tonight's ceremony. Foremost, I would like to thank all the teachers, coaches, administrators, and family members who have helped my peers and I throughout this long and strange journey. This road is not an easy one, and the time, effort, and care that you put into the process to help us succeed is greatly appreciated. And now to my fellow classmates watching at home. I have a brief message I would like to share. Back in the spring of 2019 was our junior banquet. And while we all sat at our tables before the night began, I spoke a few words to you. I said that we should enjoy this night and spend time with each other, because this will be the only time we would all be together in the same venue until our commencement ceremony. And just 1 year later, the closing of all high schools in the state of Ohio was announced, and along with the closing of schools came the cancellation of sporting events, drama productions, extracurricular meetings, and of course, school-sponsored ceremonies such as prom and commencement. While we intend to still have these events, they will look very different than they have in years past. Regardless of what you may have been involved with, we all lost something that we held stake in. Pairing our losses with the losses the rest of the world was experiencing at the time, everything looked grim. But amidst all the pain and loss, the best in our class emerged. The drama department released videos of virtual concerts and musicals. Athletes were seen doing home workouts to prepare for their upcoming season. The school newspaper published multiple stories despite not being in class together. And school-sponsored student clubs and organizations gave back to members of the community who needed it the most during this time. There was hope. And what I learned was that the Wadsworth High School class of 2020 has a natural proclivity not only for compassion, but for unity as well. So to my fellow classmates, let this experience be an instructive moment for us. When we show strength during times of adversity, our persons become tougher, our relationships become stronger, our thoughts become humbled, and our wisdom expands. Once again, I would like to thank all of those who have helped my classmates and I through our high school careers. And to everybody watching from home tonight, remember to be unwavering in the face of adversity. Thank you, and enjoy the ceremony.
525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year?
In daylight, in sunset, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strides.
In 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year in my life?
How about love? How about love? How about love? Measuring love. Seasons of love. Seasons of love. 525,600 minutes,
525,000 journeys to them, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure the life of a woman or a man?
Truth that she learned, or in times that he cried,
in bridges he burned, or the way that she died. It's time now to sing out, though the story never ends. Let's celebrate, remember a year in the life of friends. Remember the love. Remember the love. Remember the love. Measuring love. Seasons of love. Seasons of love. Seasons of
525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments out here, 525,600 minutes.
How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strides. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in life? How about love? You got to remember love. Remember love. Measuring love.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Doty, and it's my honor to deliver the baccalaureate address to the class of 2020 of Wadsworth Senior High School. Before we begin, a couple of thank yous are in order. Deep gratitude to Steve Moore, the principal of Wadsworth Senior High School, for his help in getting this program together this evening, as well as Tim Beck and his son Micah from the Wadsworth United Methodist Church. They were instrumental in putting some of these videos together, and I thank them both. It is, however, with undying gratitude that I thank the Westerville Community United Church of Christ for helping us stream this service tonight, and in particular, two people behind the scenes that have made this night possible. Our Director of Youth Ministries, Michael Melfi, and the brains behind the entire operation, Debbie Kellogg, our Director of Church Operations. I thank them very much for helping with this evening's service. A well-dressed older woman was going down into the subway one day on an escalator, and she was having a great deal of trouble going down into the subway because she had this hyperactive dog in her arms, and the dog was everywhere at once, and it even seemed the dog was trying as hard as it could to get away from the lady. After struggling the whole length from the top all the way down to the bottom, the woman went over to the subway attendant, and she said to them, "I must say that that is some kind of ridiculous rules. I'd like to register a complaint over the dog rule." "What dog rule?" the attendant asked her, and the woman pointed to a very large sign on the wall that said, "Dogs must be carried on the escalator." "That dog rule is crazy," she said. "It took me an hour to even find a dog." Graduating seniors, parents, family, friends, administration, and faculty, it is indeed my honor to stand before you this evening and deliver the 2020 Baccalaureate address. It was 36 years ago that the graduating class of Columbus Grove High School chose me as a senior speaker to give an address to my graduating class in 1984. Now, I know, students, what you're thinking. Yes, we did have schools back then, and we did have graduation ceremonies. They were all in black and white, and any music had to be played on a wind-up Victrola, but we had them. Now, our opening story this evening, beyond just giving us a laugh to start with, has a profound implication for this moment that we were celebrating this evening. There are many signs in our lives. They won't read, "Dogs must be carried on the escalator," but they will need to be read. They will also need to be interpreted. If this ceremony and this postponed celebration weekend has a sign, you might think the sign would read, "Done, finished, you've come to the end of a journey." But just as the woman in the story misread her sign, reading the graduation sign in terms of completion may too be just as wrong. You have come to this moment accomplishing something, but it is not an end, merely a new beginning. You have been on this portion of your journey for 13 years, but as one phase ends and closes, another one opens. When I first contemplated giving this address, I was at a meeting where I heard a wonderful devotion based on a passage of Scripture from the book of Numbers. The story goes that the Hebrew folks had escaped the bondage of Pharaoh to travel to the promised land. Through many years of meandering, they finally get there, and they send some spies in to see what this promised land is like. And the spies come back, and they say that they have seen the people who occupy this land, and that the people who live in the land are strong, and their towns are fortified and very large. Through this negative report back to the people, they become scared, and they don't want to go into this land God has promised them. God's displeasure with them manifests itself in the fact that the people have to go back out into the wilderness, and no one in that current generation who has seen God's glory would live to see the promised land. That is how long their exile would last. And the person offering this devotion was saying how sometimes we get fearful of doing things because we go out and we see a frightening world and we shrink back into our comfortable environment. It struck me, however, how completely unlike the Hebrews this graduating class has been. You have collectively looked out and seen people who live in the land are strong and their towns are fortified and very large, but it hasn't stopped you. Whether it was academic, artistic, or athletic, this graduating class has met the challenges of the fortified cities head on. And you did so ending in a way that none of us could have foreseen. In March, your world was shut down. You were not to return to the halls of Wadsworth High School again to complete your high school career, and you completed it online. It was a disheartening end to a 13-year journey. While you can celebrate that you survived it, I submit to you that that is not enough. You must do more than just survive. I recently read a book by Emily St. John Mandel entitled Station 11. St. John Mandel wrote this book in 2014. about a pandemic that wipes out 90% of the human population. They have no electricity, no running water, you name it, it's not there. They are plunged into a new dark ages dystopia. This post-apocalyptic book centers around a traveling band of musicians and actors. They call themselves the Traveling Symphony, and they travel from small town to small town performing music and the works of Shakespeare. I know it seems odd that they perform Shakespeare, but they tried more recent works, and the folks just seem to be more comforted by the classics. This motley caravan that travels around has a slogan painted on the side of its main vehicle, and its main character, Kirsten, has the same motto tattooed on her arm, which boldly states, "Because survival is insufficient." Because survival is insufficient. So, my young friends, you have survived these past few months, but that is insufficient. You need to thrive. And you are called to thrive in a very different environment than almost any other generation. And it's scary. There's no doubt about that. And you might be asking yourself, can we do it? Now, commencement speakers usually tell young folk, you're amazing, you're awesome, you got what it takes, you're the best and the brightest leaders of a new generation. A United Church of Christ colleague of mine mused once, I wonder how graduation might go if the speaker said, listen, not going to lie to you. You actually don't have what it takes. And neither do I. Nor do all the teachers and administrators here arrayed before you. And if you're feeling a little anxious today, good. You should be. But listen, you and I are not left to our own resources alone. There's an amazing holy power at work in the world, a power that God pours out on those who ask, those who trust. No, despite what your high school diploma says, you ain't all that. But God is. So trust in God. Trust in a power beyond yourself that will more than help you survive, because that's insufficient, but to thrive, and thrive you will. The coronavirus pandemic has been a wake-up call to most of us. We've had to figure out what's most important in our lives. To be sure, you missed the events of the last portion of your senior year, but as a father of one of you, I know that you've really missed one another. When you were told to stay at home and you could only see each other through FaceTime or Zoom or whatever mode that worked for you, you still missed each other. And it was a wake-up call to reassess what was important in life. In the ancient movie Joe versus the Volcano, Tom Hanks plays Joe, who is erroneously diagnosed with a terminal disease. Since he has to die anyways, he is asked to go on a pilgrimage to become a human sacrifice for the appeasement of a volcanic god on a small South Sea island. His existence to this point has been one where he goes to a job he hates. He's stuck in a small, drab, gray cubicle, completing the same meaningless routine day in and day out. He wholeheartedly takes on this sacrificial task. And throughout the movie, we see Joe wake up to life. While watching the moon rise above the ocean horizon, Joe sums up his transformation this way. Most people go through life asleep, but the ones who are awake live in constant and total amazement. My prayer for you is that you find a way to live in constant and total amazement. Whether you're going to college or a trade school, working at a new job, or entering the military, I pray you find ways to enjoy the journey of life as journey and not destination. My young friends, please do not wait to start enjoying your life. Don't think that there is some hurdle out there that once you get over it, you can say, I will be happy now. That hurdle is out there. In fact, there are many hurdles out there. But you don't have to wait to get over them to be happy. Each afternoon, the son of a famous rabbi would return home from school, put his backpack on the dining room table, and he would leave the house through the back kitchen door. He would run out into the woods far away, and he spent 30 minutes, give or take, every school afternoon in the woodlands behind his house. Now, his father knew of his son's peculiar habit, but said nothing. After a matter of weeks, however, the rabbi grew concerned. Is my son up to mischief, he wonders? So he decides to broach the subject. Tell me, son, he asked one afternoon after his son had returned from his woodland visit, why do you spend each afternoon in the woodland? What are you doing out there? Papa, the boy replied, don't worry. I go to the woodland every day. It is my special space, my sacred space, because there I can talk with God. Oh, the father, visibly relieved, said, I'm glad to hear it. But you, the son of a rabbi, should know that God is the same everywhere. You can speak to God because God is the same everywhere. Yes, Papa, the young boy said, I know that God is the same everywhere. But I am not. You will be challenged in the years ahead to be different, to stretch and to grow, and with our recent pandemic, to remember that mere survival is insufficient. Some of these challenges will be very good for you, and some will not be so good for you. But remember that the God who created you and in whom you live and move and have your being will watch over you. Foster that inner sanctuary, that inner sacred space that can be a place to retreat to when the pressures mount. In Marcia Falk's poem, Will, she states, 3 generations back, my family had only to light a candle and the world parted. Today, Friday afternoon, I disconnect from clocks and phones, and when night fills my house with passages, I begin saving my life. I would love for you to begin saving your life here and now, saving it from the rat race pace that the world pushes at us, the faceless others out there whom we will be challenged to keep up with, the systems that force you to choose between working more to get ahead or rendering a vital service to your fellow human beings. Some will suggest to you that it will be about keeping score. They say there is some game of life out there we can compete for a high score. It's as if we can measure time and thereby our importance in life by some factor that will give us a numerical score. But what if it were different? What if more than surviving was marked by a different way to measure time? In recent times, that particular lesson has been taught again on the Broadway stage by the cast of Rent. Jonathan Larson won the Pulitzer Prize in Drama for his musical Rent. It's a retelling of the story that the opera La Bohème is based upon. And it's about a gang of friends and their bohemian life that they lead. And the lyrics of the opening song, Seasons of Love, which the Wadsworth Senior Ensemble sang so beautifully for us, challenge us to consider what is important in life and how do we measure what is important. 525,600 minutes, 525,600 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes, how do you measure? Measure a year. In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife. In 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year in the life? Well, how do you? The greatest thing about this song is that in a sublimely wonderful way, it answers its own question. How do you measure a year in the life? The cast continues. How about love? How about love? How about love? Measure in love seasons of love. Now, my math is not AP level, but if I calculated right, in 13 years of school, you passed through 6,832,800 minutes. 4 more years of college will be an additional 2,102,400 minutes. How will you measure them? My prayer is that by living life, living the journey, that you can measure them in love. And speaking of love, in a few moments, we'll see students who shared signs of love with those who got them to this day. A journey from that first day of kindergarten to here in our dedication ceremony. And I've been holding on to a poem for 13 years. This poem was on a sheet of paper that my daughter Katie brought home after her first day of kindergarten. Now I ask you, pray that I can get through it. It's entitled The First Day of Kindergarten. I used to be little, but not anymore. Tomorrow I'll get up and walk out the door. I'm going to kindergarten. It's the first time for me. It's great to be big, but I'm scared as can be. My tummy's in knots. You want to know why? I'm thinking that maybe, just maybe, I'll cry. When Dad leaves the school and I'm there all alone, I'm thinking that maybe I'll want to go home. But wait, Mommy said I'll play lots of games and meet lots of friends. I can learn all their names. The first day of kindergarten, oh, there's so much to do. There's painting and books and a big playground, too. I used to be little, but not anymore. Tomorrow, I'll get up and walk out the door. I'm going to kindergarten. It's my first day, you see. It's great to be big. I'm glad that I'm me. Be glad to be you. Try your best to not keep up with an imaginary other out there and accept the challenge to not just survive, but to thrive. On graduation Sunday, it's my custom to bring all the graduates up and read to them the Dr. Seuss book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, during the children's sermon time. I do this, of course, to embarrass graduating seniors in front of the entire congregation. But I also want them to know that I truly believe they can do as Dr. Seuss states. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. The prophet of the book of Ecclesiastes reassures us that there's a time for everything. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to break down and a time to build up. And for us parents, so too there is a time that we must do, a time to keep, hold on to our little ones as long as we can, and a time to let go, to send them out into the world. To be sure, there'll be times of testing and trial. From Seuss's advice we hear, and when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet many things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much they won't want to go on. On you will go, though the Hacken's crack calls. We send you out, however, in the name of God, the one the psalmist says will keep you from all evil. God will keep your life. And this class in particular, we send you out in the confidence that you will do more than just survive. You will thrive. You have shown that you will not let strong people in fortified cities keep you from living the life to its fullest. So with that promise in our minds, we collectively send you out, again with words from Dr. Seuss. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. Life is here and out there. Oh, the places you'll go. Amen. Now, my friends, as I come to this end of my address, I've written a litany, and the words will be on your screen momentarily. I'm going to invite my wife Amy and our daughter Katie to come forward. Katie is here to represent the graduating class of Wadsworth Senior High School. Amy is here as a parent and as part of the congregation during this baccalaureate service. Go ahead. I will be the leader in this litany, and we invite you, as the litany appears on your screen, to join in with us. So let us begin this litany. Lift up your eyes.
We lift up our eyes to the hills. From where will our help come?
Your help comes from God, who made heaven and earth.
God will not slumber.
God who keeps you will not slumber.
God keeps watch over all people and will not slumber or sleep.
God is your keeper. God is your shade right beside us all.
Right beside us?
Yes, right beside. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night.
God is always with us.
God will preserve you from all evil. God will take care of your souls.
God will keep your lives.
Even our lives?
Even that. God will keep your going in and your coming out always. God will preserve us, going out and coming in this time and forevermore. Now in your program is the Lord's Prayer, and I invite you now to follow along as it is sung. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
And now, class of 2020, as you close this chapter in your life, take all that you have learned and may it forever shape you. May the strength and patience you have gained through this quarantine be something you continue to lean on. And may God bless you as you go from this place, seeking his guidance always. And remember your grizzly pride. Hold your head high and know you have a whole community behind you and supporting you. Amen.